let's do a quick review of what we did earlier. Let me just organize these, put that over there. Okay. So earlier we looked at creating a WebSocket channel that was not unique to a specific instance of a given model, right? And so there were only a few things to set up for that. If we go to the back end first, Action Cable is something that's already built into Rails. So there's no gems that need to be installed or anything like that. Step one was in our routes file. We added this line here, mount Action Cable server. Step two was we created a channel file. So to do that in our terminal, we said something like Rails G channel, and then, for example, posts would make this posts channel, right? Okay, so once we make that, that comes with two methods, subscribed and unsubscribed. In subscribed, if this channel is not going to be unique to a specific instance, then we say stream from, and we give it the channel here as a string. And then in unsubscribed, we the way I do it is I say raise not implemented error. Again, I have no idea how this works, but it works. Go with it. All right. And then in our post controller, when somebody makes a new post, we're going to broadcast that through the post channel via actioncable.server.broadcast. Right? First argument here is the string post channel, which matches this, and then second argument is the data that we're broadcasting. In this case, the post. We're all good there, right? No questions? All right, let's go to the front end. On the front end side of things, we need to set up a component that will listen to the post channel. So the first step to do that was in our, wherever we're rendering our app. So here in myindex.js, we're going to wrap this action cable provider around our app component. And we're going to give it a URL equal to this string here. If you guys are going to deploy your apps, you'll need to update this in the same way you would update your other URLs, but we're not going to do that here. But just a note for future reference, we had to import Action Cable Provider to use it, right? So import that. Oh, actually, I forgot. We had to npm install first. We had to npm install React Action Cable Provider. So we did that in the terminal, and then we imported Action Cable Provider here from that package, and then we wrapped it around our app with this URL. Right, and then in app, the way I'm doing it is I have a bunch of different channels that I'm listening to, so I made a different component for each one. So for post channel, I'm rendering this component here. And what we do is we return this Action Cable Consumer component, which we have to import. So import Action Cable Consumer from the same package. And this is a React component that doesn't render any HTML. So it renders nothing on the page, but it listens to a WebSocket channel. So we tell it which channel to listen to, and then we tell it what to do when we get new information. When something is broadcast via that channel, this will run this method here. Right? So far, so good? Mm-hmm. All right. So what we're going to do now is talk about what happens when, say, for example, my project has different events, and each event has its own chat. So I can type something in, and it pops up here. And let's see, maybe I have an event. Actually, what we can do is we can make a new one. These are all my posts. So let's see, Secret, who's logged in over here, if he's interested in my posts. You'll see over here, I actually got some notifications. That's also via WebSockets. Let's take a look at that. I got a new interested user on this post. Secret, age 25, the inventor of WebSockets, is interested in my post. Seems like a pretty cool guy. He likes dogs. It's pretty cool. So let's add him to the event list. We'll create an event. Over here, you see he gets a notification. That's also WebSockets. Anyway, go to event. So now we are both in this same event, right? And we can chat with each other. So I can type stuff and it shows up here. He can type stuff, it shows up here. So this is a WebSocket channel that is unique to this specific event. Okay? So how do we set that up? Let's take a look. All right. So starting in the back end, it's very, very similar. So we had post channels we were looking at before, and we had the subscribe method where we said stream from post channel. The only thing that's going to change, so I have this event chats channel over here. It's hard to see. Event chats channel, and the only thing that changes is, let me close out some of these. I don't need all of these. Let's get rid of. Okay. The subscribe method. So whereas before we just had stream from post channel, now we're going to find the specific events and we're going to say stream for that specific event. Right, exactly. So, and you might wonder, where is this even coming from? And what happens is, if we go to, so the messages belong to an event, right? And when the request comes in, the request being when someone makes a new message, it sends a post request to the server, right? And that request comes with, the way I set it up, comes with an event ID in the request. And so our event chats channel finds that event, and then it creates a channel specific to that event. And then when we get a new message, what we do is we broadcast to, so let's see, let's go to the post controller as well. So post controller, here we said action cable server broadcast, and the first argument was post channel, right? So the same thing, our first argument is going to be, instead of a string, it's going to be the object that we decided to, the object for which we're broadcasting this message, the event for which we're broadcasting this message. I mean, you could have even done stream for like event.id, and then in our controller we would say event.id. Would work the same. Doesn't matter. You just need a way to uniquely identify the specific channel. So this will create different channels for each event, right? Every time a new message comes in, it finds the event from the request, because the request sends like the message content and also sends the event that the message belongs to. And so here we find that specific event, and we're going to stream for that specific event. and that event is the same event here, right? Because we also said the same line of code, right?
So message is a join model of user and event?
Message belongs to a user and belongs to an event, I believe. Let's take a look. It belongs to an event. It may not belong to a user. I don't remember how I set it up. I'm looking for schema. Yeah, belongs to a user and belongs to an event. So instead of streaming or broadcasting to this general post channel, we're broadcasting to via a channel that is specific to this event. And then on the front end, we're going to render a component that listens for broadcasts coming through this specific channel as well.
So the same link WS.
That doesn't change.
That doesn't change. So
No.
that's listening for this event. Any event actually is listening for any event, and
that's listening for any broadcast in general for all channels. Yeah, that's this here, right? Yeah, this is for any channel that you're going to create.
And all of these things, the chat persists. Like even after you, so it's not just in the front end, but it persists in the back end as well. Every message that you type in.
Because when you, so if I make a new message, and if I type something in, hit submit, that's sending a post request to my back end, which, right, the back end is the same back end for all users, right, for all clients. And we're going to create this message, and if it works, then that message was created successfully, right? So it's going to persist in the back end, and then we're going to broadcast that message to the channel that is specific to the event that this message belongs to.
And then the message for broadcast.
Right. So that's a custom serializer, basically.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. So again, that's the issue where I didn't know how to. And there might not be a way to do it. I mean, this might be the only way to do it. I'm not sure. But if you look at, for example, post controller, when I render JSON post, I'm running this include ***, which is for the serializer to go, multiple levels deep. But as far as I could tell, I didn't find a way to do that in here.
And when you create a post which is shared between you and Sukrit, where is that code in the front end which selects the attendees in that posts? So because
Sure.
if there are two attendees in this one, both of them have been receiving the messages. Like if you send it, you'll see it, and other people will see it too. So in the back end, is there a table where you made that connection?
Well, I have.
Like if I were to add you as an attendee, when you selected him. So in that case, is that an event which is fetching to the back end and then selecting, okay, fine, this post contains you and someone else?
Well, so what happens is, if I go here, let me just create a new event. So I'm going to say I'm interested in this post. Oh, come on. All right. So I go to this one user interested. Okay. So when I add him to event list, that's just storing in local state on my front end. The postcard. That's just storing this him here, and then when I create events, it sends the attendees to the back end, and it connects like the event to each user in the back end. So in the back end, events have a host, and then they have attendees. So like Sucrit would be added in the back end as an attendee to this new event. And only Sucrit and I will be rendering these action cable consumers for that event. Because that event is I created the event, so it's in my list of events that I'm hosting. And for him, it'd be in his list of events that he's attending. But no one else will have this event, right? Mm-hmm. So nobody else, when they're logged in or using the application, will be rendering an action cable consumer that's listening to that specific channel. So when a message gets broadcast, only him and only our two clients will be hearing that broadcast.
Right.
Okay.
Is there a way that you can send a specific event to a specific user? So because the way that my app is, it was designed for couples.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say I'm using the app, I made an event, and I want to be able to send a chat, to have a chat between my partner and I can say, hey, I made this event.
So you want to?
Because I know like the way that you're doing it is when you create a post,
Yeah.
that's like a public broadcast.
Right.
So anyone who's like logged in. But I guess for me, my question is, I feel like it's a little difficult because I don't want to like broadcast my post event to like the general
To everybody.
Yeah.
Well, what you could do is you could broadcast it to everybody, but so if you look at mine, let's go back to the post one. So so everyone's going to receive a new post, right? But in the method that handles the new post, or in your case, that handles the new event or whatever it is, you could just say, so let's see, you could, from the back end, you could also broadcast the ID of the person that you want to be able to see that post or that event. And then on the front end, you check if the person that's logged in has the same ID. If they have the same ID, then you can do something with that post. Otherwise, you completely ignore it. You know what I mean?
But I would still have to broadcast the post like publicly for whoever else is logged in to see it.
Yes, but they wouldn't see it.
Because of what I'm putting in the back end for the
Because of
specific-
right. So you would also, there's probably a better way to do that. That's just the first way that I'm thinking about it right now.
Yeah, because I was also thinking of having like that the user can add friends, and then they can only chat with the people that they're friends with. But that's too late now. Like that was like my initial goal, but it was.
Isn't that similar to adding users to that posts? That you had the number of people that you have in the post can see the chat, and only those people.
Right. So you could like create a group
Yeah.
with those friends, and then that specific group, you could have a channel for that specific group, and then
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Because right now I don't have a friends table. But is there a way? Do you think that like I should have like a function where I can search for users, and then from that, after I search for users, I can click on chat with this user.
You could do that. Like what?
That would probably be the best way to do
Yeah.
it, because you have to find a way to create a channel that these two people are a part of.
Yeah.
And if you can find a specific person or a group of people to chat with, if you click that button in your backend, you can have them all subscribe to this new channel that you just made by clicking the button. And then when you send a message to that channel, everybody there gets it.
Yeah.
But that would be using Stream
So
4, right? So
yes.
from-
Right. So you would like create a new. Do you have like a chat model?
No, not yet.
Okay. So you would probably want to have a chat model that has many users, right? And then when you create, you can add a bunch of people and chat with them. So that would create a chat in your back end, and then any message within that chat would be broadcast via the channel that's specific to that chat. And then you'd have the auth part of it or whatever, where any user who's not involved in that chat just would never even see it, right? They would not be listening for messages, and they would never see the chat on their front end. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm just thinking I may not have time to implement it because I have to. I know it's so sad because this was a stretch goal for me, but now I'm thinking if I have to make a function to search users.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, remember, like Thursday's not a deadline, right?
I
It's
know
just
it's
like
not. It's not, but like.
I'm still working on it.
yeah, we
Yeah.
all still are. It's,
Yeah, no, it's not. But like I realized that I want to make the most of my time here because we're not gonna have like the
same
TA
resources and
yeah,
everything, of course.
That's what I realized.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was helpful.
So let's go through this, and maybe that'll help again. So let's. Do you guys like? Does it make sense, the concept of having channels being unique to something? Like this post channel was not unique to anything, right? It's broadcast
For everybody.
right? But messages belong to specific events, right? So if I create this event, there's a chat here, and the messages belong to this event. So we want to be able to broadcast via some channel that only applies to this event.
Right.
Right? Okay. So that concept makes sense. And to do that, whereas before in our subscribed method we said stream from some string post channel, now we're finding something specific, which in this case is the event that the messages are unique to, and then we're saying stream for that event. And again, this could be the event ID. It's just something that makes sure this is unique to this event, right? So it would probably be either event or event ID. Doesn't matter. And then, so when someone creates a new message, we pass with the request, we're passing the message information as well as the event that the ID of the event that this message belongs to. And so after we create the message, we have the event, which this is going to be the same event that we're having here, right? And then so we're going to broadcast to, so this is a little bit different. So before we just had, oops, that's not it, here we go. Before we just had actioncable.server.broadcast. Now we have the specific channel, event chats channel dot broadcast to. It's a little different. And then instead of saying, like before where we said post channel here, the channel is identified by the events, right, which is right here. And then just the data we want to broadcast. Yeah, so this message for broadcast is just a custom serializer. If we go to our messages model, message model, nothing crazy here. So that's it
Wow.
on the back end. It's almost the exact same, right?
Yeah.
A couple minor tweaks.
For specific events. Okay.
On the front end, so let's see. So I try to keep the naming things pretty consistent. So I had my event chat channel on the back end, right? Wherever it is here, right? Event chat channel, chats channel, whatever. My front end, I have an event chat channel cable. Doesn't matter what it's called, but try to be consistent. So in my app, I'll be rendering this. And this is actually going to render a new action cable consumer for each of the events that I'm a part of. So for all the events that I'm either hosting or attending, we're going to render an action cable consumer who's going to be listening to broadcasts to the channel that is specific to that event. Right, okay, here's where okay. So if you remember, here we were finding an event from here. This is not coming from like a post request or something. This is coming from here. So this part's the same. If you look at our, look at my post channel cable, right? Channel, post channel. Here we still have channel, event chats channel. But now the second argument here, or the second key value pair here is the event ID. So this is what's going into params and coming in here is the ID for the specific event that we're iterating over. So then this will, in the back end, this will find that event, and we'll stream for that event.
Where is the event? Sorry. Question.
Yeah.
Where is the event ID in line 85.5 is being entered there? Like, where is it
So
coming
that's these are all coming from props basically.
Yeah.
And so this all events are basically all the events that I'm a part of, hosting or attending.
Right.
So we're gonna and this is going to be an array of objects, basically an array of instances of event instances from the back end, more or less. So we're gonna iterate over those, and for each one we're gonna map it onto a new action cable consumer component. So the event ID comes from the specific event that we're iterating over.
Right. Got it. Okay. This is cool.
So that's really the only difference. On the front end, here we have so if we go back to the post channel cable, we're on received, we're passing in this callback function, which will automatically pass to it the data that was broadcast, right? Which is the post that was broadcast. That automatically gets passed to this callback function. Same thing happens here, but this is more drawn out as an arrow function because I also want to I also wanted to pass in the events. So I just had to, because I'm having a second argument be passed in, I just had to draw it out as a full arrow function. But this message here will be, from the back end, will be this. And that'll be passed to my handle new message function, which is very long. It is all of this. Quite messy, but a lot of this has to do with like setting notifications. So like if a user isn't looking at the chat right now, finding a way to notify them that there are new messages for them to see, basically.
And where is the has new info method coming from?
Yeah, that's this is a key in my Redux state.
Oh.
So if the user has any new information, new chats, or if other users just like showed interest in one of their posts, so they have new interest in their post, then that would trigger this has new info. It'll be true, and if it's true, then we're going to render some notification, basically. Yeah. So that key specifically, we'll put a plus up here.
Right.
But yeah.
That notification comes from Action Cable Consumer.
So the Action Cable Consumer, all it does, you can have the callback function. You have the event listener on received. So when you receive a new broadcast, you can do whatever you want with the information. What I'm doing is updating. I'm using Redux, so I'm updating my Redux state in some way based on that new information. And then in different places in my application, I will be rendering a notification depending on what's in my Redux state. So maybe if the user currently doesn't have any new information, so I'll show you actually. Okay, so let's go. Oops. It's the same one. Yeah. Okay. So if I'm over here and I'm Secret and navigate away from the chat. So right now, Secret doesn't have any new information. If I type a message and hit enter, Secret now has new information. There's a new message in one of his events. So when that message came in, what happened was I run this method, and that makes has new info, this key and user, it makes it true. And because it's true, like if you go to that's in my nav bar, and in my nav bar, let's see, I think battery. My nav bar, I have render new info message, and that says is user.hasNewInfo true? If it is, then render this nice little plus right there. Otherwise, render nothing. So whenever a message comes in, or whenever any broadcast comes in, I'm just updating my Redux state in some way.
And change the navbar link to have that plus.
Yeah.
That's just happening because my Redux state that has new info key in my Redux state is changing to true. And then that's like this is already set up to render this plus sign if it's true. So the broadcast comes in, I update has new info to true, which, when the state gets updated, forces the re-render. And so this re-renders now with this plus sign because this is true.
And once you click on that plus sign.
Yeah, once I click on it, then it toggles it again, right? So if I go to somewhere in here, handle nav bar button click. Basically, if so this method, which should say, oh, here we go. Yeah. So I call this method when they click it, and then basically it says if the user has new info, if there is a plus bar more or less, or plus sign more or less right here, then toggle that key to false so that it no longer shows up.
But this,
No, go ahead.
then this new message in the parentheses also is
So
there
that's-
because you have a new message.
Right, and that's coming from the same method where when a new message comes in, so we have if there aren't any new messages, so this is coming from Redux again. If there currently are not any new messages, that means that like if I go to here, right now Matt has no new messages. And then if a new message comes in and there are no new messages, then I want to set that key to true and state that there are new messages. And if there are new messages, then we show this little new messages thing here. And then again, if I click this, then that's going to toggle those things to false so that new messages will go away. So the notifications are basically all just like ternaries where if a key in Redux in my state is true, then we should render the notification. If it's false, then we won't render the notification. Also, like everything we're doing only applies if like you're on the application. You're not going to get notifications if you're not in the application. You know what I mean? That's a completely different process that I do not have implemented. Yeah, I mean that's basically it. The setup is really not too bad. The real power of it comes with what you do with it, how you handle the new information that comes in, how you update the user interface, those kind of things. Yeah. So I try to make a lot of nice notifications for the user. Yeah. If Sucre likes one of my posts, this is my post here. He says he's interested. Then I get this little plus sign here. And you'll notice like I didn't get a plus here. That's because I'm already on this page. Like this button's already active. This page is already active, so I don't need to put a plus there.
Oh.
But so that's like another turn.
You added another conditional there.
Yeah, it's just another conditional. And this is, so there you go. Right, so now if I click this will go away. And then this is here too. So once I click manage post, this is what? Coffee and tea and Hell's Kitchen. Manage post. If I go back to my posts, then that is no longer here because I've seen it now as the user. If I'm on this page and Sucre says he's interested in this post, I won't get like the new interested users, whatever here, but that post will get a thing here, so I can see that, and then I can manage the post, blah, blah, blah. So those are all just like if statements, ternaries, based on your state, more or less. Yes?
What is the old post? What are the old?
Right, so these are things that are in the past.
Like time after.
Yeah, so these are anything that's you can only make a post about something for today or tomorrow in my application. So the active posts are anything that are today or tomorrow. So you can see here, these are all for today. So I just made them for today. But if you make a new post, you can either choose today or tomorrow. Yeah, so then when you look here, look at your posts, you can see your old posts just sometime in the past. Same with events. Just if you want to see things that you've liked in the past or whatever. Yeah, that's about it. Any other questions?
No, not specific question to me.
No, I think I understand yours. I just have trouble implementing to my app.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think we have the room for 7 more minutes or so. We can, and if you guys want to hang out here for a little bit and work on it, or
In any other room too.
you're right. All right. Well, I'll shut this down.